Hello, my name is Michael Chadwick, and this presentation is going to be about the New Living Translation. This is a picture of the logo of the New Living Translation, or the NLT, and that's their motto statement as well: the truth made clear. Alright, first let's talk about a little bit of the history of the NLT. It was really an extensive revision of Ken Taylor's Living Bible. I got that from BibleResearcher.com. But he made a Living Bible. He basically started this when trying to explain the word for word text into a version that they could understand it in their devotions. That's where he got the idea of the Living Bible. And this is just an extensive revision of that. And actually, in the first 10 years of publication from the New Living Translation, we see that more than 14 million copies of the New Living Translation were sold. And in fact, there were actually 5 different editions of this translation by 1996, and that was only 1 year difference from the publication to the 5 editions. And those 5 editions are the Deluxe Text Edition, the Touchpoint Bible Edition, the New Believer's Bible, the 1 Year Bible, and the Life Application Study Bible, which is really the most popular one of the 5. And this is a picture of that Life Application Study Bible that we talked about in the previous slide. That's really the most popular one. In fact, most NLT study Bibles that you see now are of this Life Application Study Bible. Now, after these 5 editions were made in 1996, there were actually other editions that they made following 1996. Those editions are the large print edition, the giant print edition, the reference edition, the Student's Life Application Bible, the Daily Walk Bible, the Praise and Worship Study Bible, the Daily Study Bible for Men, and the Daily Study Bible for Women. And here is a picture of that Student's Life Application Bible. Alright, now that we've gone through a very brief history of the New Living Translation, let's talk about their philosophy in making this translation. They wanted to make it essentially literal, and that word essentially is important because the idea of this is that they were reluctant to clarify the meaning of the text, though it is open to doing so when absolutely necessary for understanding. Really meaning that they only changed the words that they felt that they needed to make it more, to make it read better for today's generation than it had been in the past. Also, there's this thing called the dynamic equivalent. This basically means that they were open to clarify the meaning of the text whenever a literal rendering of the text might be confusing to the normal or uninitiated reader. Essentially, for the non-believers or the people who are trying to read the Bible who aren't so familiar with the word for word, or who don't understand the wording of, say, the King James or the NASB, they want to try to make the Bible more useful for those people. And that's really their philosophy, to make sure that the people understand what the Bible is trying to say. Now let's talk about the committee members. Now I'm going to be, and these next few slides, going to be listing a lot of names. I want you to know that this is not everybody. It's not an extensive list, but it does give you basically the interpreters or the translators that were used in this, and I think that's important uh, to realize that all these people were from different backgrounds, different ideas of theology, everywhere, uh, different people. For Genesis, we had Alan Ross and Gordon Wyndham, who translated the text. In Exodus, we had Robert Burgeon, Daniel I. Block, and Eugene Carpenter. For Leviticus, we had David Baker, Victor Hamilton, and Kenneth Matthews. For Numbers, we had Dale A. Bear with me here, Bruggeman. I think I said that right. Then we have R. K. Harrison, Paul R. House, and Gerald L. Mattingly. And then for Deuteronomy, we had J. Gordon, Eugene H. Merrill, and John A. Thompson. And for Joshua and Judges, we have Carl E. Ermerding, Barry J. Betzel, and Lawson Stone. For 1st and 2nd Samuel, we have Robert Gordon, V. Phillips Long, and J. Robert Benoit. 1st and 2nd Kings, we have Bill T. Arnold, William H. Barnes, and Frederick W. Bush. 1st and 2nd Chronicles, we have Raymond B. Dillard, David A. Dorsey, and Terry Ez. And with the rest of the historical books, with Ruth, Ezra through Esther, we have William C. Williams and H. G. M. Williams. Alright, for Job, we have August Conkle, Trimper Longman III, and Al Walters. For the first half of Psalms, which is Psalm 1 through 75, we have Mark D. Futato, Douglas Green, and Richard Pratt. For the second half of Psalms, the 76 through 150, we have David M. Howard Jr., Raymond C. Ertland Jr., and William Van Gameren. For Proverbs, we have Ted Haldebrandt, Richard Schultz, and Raymond C. Van Ludwin. And for Ecclesiastes and the Song of Solomon, we have Daniel C. Fredericks, David Hudbard, and Trimper Longman III again. For Isaiah, we have John N. Oswalt, Gary Smith, and John Walton. Jeremiah Lamentations, we have G. Herbert Livingston and Elmer A. Martins. Ezekiel, we have Daniel I. Block again, David H. Engelhard, and David Thompson. And that's for Ezekiel. For Daniel and Haggai through Malachi, we have Joyce Baldwin Kane, Douglas Group, Roy Hayden, Andrew Hill, and Trimper Longman III again. And for Hosea through Zephaniah, we have Joseph Colson, Roy Hayden, Andrew Hill, and Richard Patterson. For Matthew, we have Craig Bloomberg, Donald A. Hagner, and David Turner. For Mark, we have Robert Gillich, George Guthrie, and Grant R. Osborne. For Luke, Daryl Bach, Scott McKnight, and Robert Stein. For John, Gary M. Berg, Philip W. Comfort, and Marion May Thompson. And for X, we have D.A. Carson, William J. Larkin, and Roger uh, Moreland. For Romans and Galatians, we have Gerald Borchert, Douglas J. Moo, and Thomas R. Schreiner. For the 1st and 2nd Corinthians, we have Joseph Alexanian, Linda Bellevue, Douglas A. Oss, and Robert Sloan. For Ephesians through Philemon, we have Harold W. Hoener, Moises Silva, and Clean Snodgrass. For Hebrew, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, and Jude, we have Peter Davids, Norman R. Erickson, William Lane, and J. Ramsey Michael. And for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, and Revelation, we have Greg Beale, Robert Mounts, and M. Robert Mulholland Jr. Alright, that's really all the committee members that I saw on their main website. And sorry for the pronunciation, some of those names are really hard. And but let's look at the actual leaders. For the first 5 books of the Bible, the main translator in the Pentateuch is Daniel I. Block. For the historical books, it is Barry J. Betzel. For the poetry books, or the wisdom literature books, is Tremper Longman III. For the prophets, it is John N. Oswalt. And for the Gospels and Acts, it is Grant R. Osborne. And lastly, the letters and Revelation is Norman R. Erickson. And as you can tell, I divided all the slides up in these different ways. So the first slide of the committee members was the Pentateuch, all the way down to the letters and Revelation. And here is a picture of all of really the leaders in the translation team, like I just talked about, all of which except for the last one, Norman R. Erickson. Now let's look at the target audience. On their website it says that the New Living Translation is perfect for every age and stage of life, allowing every member of the family to read the same text. So the real target audience is essentially everybody. They try to make the Bible into words that all of the family can understand it and study together. Now let's take a look at the translation theory. They use the dynamic equivalence theory of translation. What this means is that the goal of this translation theory is to produce in the receptor language the closest natural equivalent of the message expressed by the original language text, both in meaning and style. And really, this translation theory can also be called thought for thought translation instead of the word for word translation. Now let's look at the problems. I personally do not use the New Living Translation because of really both of these problems that we see, but mainly just the last one. Um, I personally don't like the thought for thought translations. We'll get to that a little bit later, but the first problem that we see is the gender looseness of the New Living Translation, and really the more modern thought for thought translations is the gender looseness problem. One assumption of most of these translators for the New Living Translation and for some of the other translations that are out there now is that if the masculine word in the Greek and Hebrew Bible refers to more than males, it should not be translated with a masculine English word. So, for example, if since whenever the Bible talks about that God created man in His own image, but it's really male and female, they would translate it as humans or human beings or male and female, something along those lines. So the gender looseness, but they fail to recognize that there is a reason that those specific writers of the New Testament, and really the Old Testament as well, there is a reason they use the words that they did. So if they use the masculine form of a word, then that means we need to use the masculine form of that word as well in our English versions. Because God is sovereign over. So that means that whatever the original language says, that is exactly what we need to be reading now. Because if you don't, then you're not reading God's word. Second problem, I think it's a problem, is really the thought for thought translation. This is a paraphrase of the actual thought process of the New Testament writers. But the problem is that a paraphrase functions somewhat as an extended running commentary. So a lot of these new versions that are thought for thought, uh, I just like I got this information from uh, the link that you see below. James White wrote this, but he even goes as far to say that it's not a translation at all if it's a thought for thought translation, because it's not exactly what the writers wrote. It's basically an extended commentary. And he does say that paraphrase should be read with a formal version firmly in hand. And if that version does not support some insight that is offered in the paraphrase, one should be very slow to adopt that insight. What does that mean? It means that if you do have this thought for thought translation, you need to have a word for word translation right beside. And if those two things don't add up and don't correlate with one another, then get rid of the thought for thought translation, because it is no good. Now let's talk about the strengths. I do like the idea to make the Bible easier to read for multiple generations and multiple ways of life. I do love the idea of that. Um, I also like the fact that the Arminian spin of the of the Living Bible was eliminated, especially on Acts 13:48 and Romans 8:28 through 29. Those in the Living Bible were very Arminian in style. Me personally, and uh, I I really like the fact that the New Living Translation cut those out, or I guess reworded those. I do like the fact that it is written for all ages and all walks of life, and there are many different editions of this Bible as well, like the Life Application Study Bible, like the study Bibles for the men and the women and the students. I love the fact that there are many different editions in this. Now let's look at who endorsed the New Living Translation. Arthur Jackson said, using the New Living Translation in sermon preparation helps to generate ahas from the congregation. Where there may be obscurity, it can help turn the light on in the hearts and the minds of listeners. Many of us may know Bill Hybels. He says about the New Living Translation, the NLT second edition communicates the truth of the gospel in a clear, understandable way that can help bring spiritual seeking people across the line of faith. And lastly, on this section, Gene Apel says, studying and teaching from the New Living Translation, second edition, provides refreshing insights from a translation with high credibility. I recommend it to both Christ followers taking their first steps of faith and seasoned veterans on their spiritual journey. Now let's look at some scripture comparison. Really to see more what a word-for-word translation is compared to the NLT, which is the thought-for-thought translation. The New American Standard Bible says in Genesis 5, verses 1 and 2, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day when God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and named them man in the day where they were created. Now the NLT, the New Living Translation, says this is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them in the likeness of himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. So we see that gender looseness there, where in the word for word it says God created them man, and in the thought for thought it says humans or human beings. And in Matthew chapter 7 verses 1 and 2, the NASB says, do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. And the New Living Translation, NLT, says, do not judge others, and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. Alright, and the last text comparison that we'll do today, it is in Romans chapter 9, verses 15 and 16. The New American Standard says, for he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it does not depend on the man who wills or the man who runs, but on God who has mercy. And the New Living Translation says, for God said to Moses, I will show mercy to anyone I choose, and I will show compassion to anyone I choose. So it is God who decides to show mercy. We can neither choose it nor work for it. And these are the websites that I got all of my information from.